Hello and welcome back. I've got another ink review video for you today. This one is called Magnolia, and I believe that's pronounced Weenk. So the box got a little bit banged up in shipping. This is from my unboxing I did a little while back, and it says made in Korea. So we're going to go ahead and open this. Hopefully everything's okay inside here. And looks like, okay, good, it's not broken. All right, so this bottle is really, really pretty. One of the reasons I chose this ink was it had this really unique wooden cap. And I don't believe I have another ink with a wooden cap, or I didn't when I purchased this one. So I'm excited to see how this ink performs. I also tried to pick a color that I didn't have or didn't have a lot of, and it's supposed to be this peachy color here. So we'll see. And it says inspired by the beginning of spring. So we'll go ahead and set this here. I'll do a swatch and then we'll test it out on some different papers. If I can get it open. There we go. All right. I didn't see any shimmers on this one, so I don't think this is a shimmer ink. So I don't think I need to shake it up in between each use. All right, and we'll go ahead and put some down here. All right, it's a very light color, but it's very pretty. I stirred it up a little bit to make sure we're not missing anything, and put some little bit heavier amount of ink on the one side there to see if there's any shading or anything. Go ahead and write the name of the ink on here, Magnolia. Okay, so it's definitely legible, which is good. I wasn't sure about that when I first saw the ink go down. Very pretty color. Definitely unusual. I don't think I have, well, I don't have this color obviously because this is my only bottle, but I mean, I don't think I have a lot in this peachy tone, but I want to see how it looks when it dries. So we're going to set this aside. Looks like there's a little bit of a spot I missed on there, but that's okay. All right, we'll set this aside here and we'll try this out on some paper next. So we're going to try this on copy paper because I like to test this out on cheaper papers in case that's all you have available. Maybe you just have cheap paper at work or at school that you have to use, and you just want to see if your ink will even perform at all. You know, sometimes they feather, or you just can't get them to look nice on the cheaper paper. So that's what this is for. It is definitely a lighter color. All right, and this is copy paper. Now it's still legible. At least to me, this I would consider very easy to read, so that's good. So I'm going to set this aside and let that dry while we try this out on some HP 32 paper. And HP 32 paper is just copy paper, but it's smoother and has a nicer finish, so the ink pools on top of it, and you can sometimes see the special effects of the ink on this like you would on a nicer paper like Tomoe River, although it's not always as drastic. And this is HP 32. There we go. I'm going to draw some lines here just in case. Sometimes you can see some shading like this, so we'll try that. It definitely looks a little bit nicer on this paper. It needs a few seconds to dry though, so we'll set that aside and work on the Tomoe River paper. And if you can't get Tomoe River paper, then sometimes the HP 32 will be just fine. So it just depends on the ink. I noticed inks that have a lot of sheen look the best on Tomoe River, just from some of the swatches that I've done on here. Whoops. And I'm also very new to fountain pens and fountain pen ink, so I don't know all of the terms yet as far as like how to describe inks. Just a moment here. I'm going to write this instead of trying to talk. Tomoe River. Okay, there we go. All right, so, but my guess, excuse me, my guess is that this might be considered, maybe, and I have no way of describing or proving, but this might be considered a dry ink. And the only reason why I say that is just because of how it feels when I'm writing with it, and also the way it doesn't flow off the pen the way I would expect it to. Some of the other inks, they just feel more wet when you write with them, and this doesn't do that. So if you prefer a drier ink, that might be what this is. But again, I'm very, very new, and I'm not 100% sure about that. So I'm going to just do a quick test here and lay down a bunch of ink right here. And yeah, it just, when people have described dry inks before, that's kind of, the way this ink feels is similar to how they've described that, and I wonder if that's the case. Because on all three papers, the ink just felt, it just didn't flow as easily as some of the other inks have that I've tried. But on the HP32, it was fine. I think maybe on this Tomoe River, because the paper is so thin, maybe that's why I'm feeling that dryness. And I felt it on the copy paper also, but I get that a lot on copy paper just because it's copy paper. So like I said, this could be my imagination, and I may just not know what I'm talking about as well. But there's definitely something about this ink that when I write with it, it doesn't feel like it's flowing like quickly and smoothly off the pen, but it doesn't, it's not bad enough to where it would prevent me from using it. I would definitely want to use this ink, and I do want to use it in something. I'll find a pen or something and use it for a while and test it out sometime. But I'm trying to think of how exactly to describe what I'm thinking. But it is a beautiful ink nonetheless. So this, like I said, it's a slight difference from some of the other inks I've tried. It's not dramatic, and it's not, game ending or anything like that. I'm going to put the swatch under a fan for a moment to let it dry, though, because it's still very wet, ironically, after me just talking about it being a dry ink. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So let's take a look at the swatch. There's definitely some really nice shading on this, and the color is a really pretty pinky peach, and then it's got this lovely shading, and you can see it in the writing. So this really is a very nice ink. And while this was drying, I went ahead and checked on the ink to see if others found it dry as well, and everybody else seems to feel that it's not dry at all. It's like kind of in between, maybe very like moderately wet is how I've seen it described. So I think maybe this was just how I was using it and not a fault of the ink. Maybe because I'm using a glass pen instead of a fountain pen, it may have just been how it was functioning on the glass pen. So just keep that in mind, that probably the ink is probably not at all dry. It's just how I'm using it, and it just didn't put down a whole lot of ink while I was writing, which led me to believe it was drier, but it's probably because I'm using a dip pen and not a fountain pen, which is what it's designed for. So that's on me, not on the ink. So let's just look at the colors real quick. So on copy paper, this actually would be great for copy paper because there's no feathering or anything, and it's very legible. I think this is actually a really nice one for copy paper. For HP32 also, the color is even more legible, probably, is how I would see it. It definitely, I think it's a little bit easier to read on the HP32, and the color looks really, really smooth. So I do like that. This is a really nice shade of like peach, I guess is what that would be. And it is a little bit more saturated on the HP32, which is normal. The inks, I've noticed, seem to look a little more saturated on the HP32. And then on the Tomoe River, again, it's got that same nice saturation, but it's got the shading that really comes out nicely in the swatches here. And you can see in all of them, there's all these colors that just pop out. and they look so nice. So this is genuinely a very pretty color, unique to what I've got in my collection. So I'm really glad I grabbed this, and I'm gonna have to test it out in a pen and see how it performs. And if I can, then I will update in the comments somewhere about this, about how wet or dry it feels in a pen. So I will let you know. And then here again is that swatch. So I hope you enjoyed this. If this was helpful at all to you, consider giving this video a like and subscribe so you can see more. And thank you so much for watching. You have a great day.